Hello, this is Zach D. Roberts with the VisuNews Podcast. In this episode, I'm chatting with journalist Amanda Moore. In June, she published a piece in Mother Jones about the many tendrils of corruption that the government initiative America 250 has. According to its website, America 250 is a non-partisan initiative working to engage every American in commemorating the 250th anniversary of our country. This multi-year effort from now through July 4th is an opportunity to pause and reflect on our nation's past, honor the contributions of all Americans, and look ahead toward the future we want to create for the next generation and beyond. Holy crap, that's a run-on sentence. It's supposed to be a nonpartisan initiative, but under Trump, it's become like everything else he touches, mired in MAGA profiteering. But I'll let Amanda Moore explain that.
My name is Amanda Moore, and I'm a journalist who started off her career by going undercover in the far right for a year. So not really the traditional method.
At some point, we'll have to talk about that, because I'm actually surprised. I haven't ever actually on camera or recording actually had a conversation about that. So, but the reason we're talking today is this story that you had that you published back in I'm sorry, I'm looking for the date, June 13th. Of this year, and I feel like with all of the unending corruption of the Trump administration, that like every story has like a moment and then it kind of gets pushed on for the next thing. But this one is like really was really fascinating, because you were talking to me about, as you were kind of working on it, is how like tied into fucking everything somehow this scandal is, and like how many characters and whatever from previous things, which is why I wanted to talk to you. How did you get a start into this particular story? Like, what was your initial like, oh, I feel like there's something going on here?
Do you know the answer to this question before you ask it?
I don't know if I know. I feel
It's
like,
really
because again,
funny.
we've talked about so much, and I'm like, what? It all blends into so many other stories. I know you're working on other things, I'm working on things, so yeah.
I have in the past written about a man named Chris LaCivita. He was Donald Trump's campaign co-manager with Susie Wiles, who's now the chief of staff to the president. I've not only written about Chris, I've written about people within his orbit, and it's made Chris really unhappy with me. It's made the administration really unhappy with me, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
And so like once a week, I Google Chris LaCivita's name just to see what he's up to.
Yeah.
And back in April, I published a story about him taking money from an Albanian politician under U.S. sanctions.
Like you do.
And that day, I Googled his name, because I always do once a week, and also because the story was picking up in Albania, and I wanted to see how it was going there.
Yeah.
And what comes up? An announcement for the Bitcoin conference. Chris LaCivita will be speaking at the Bitcoin conference on behalf of America 250. And at first I thought, what the hell is America 250? Yeah. And then I thought, wait a second. If Axios or Politico Playbook have not reported that Chris is involved with America 250, and I don't know he's involved with America 250, this is sketchy as hell.
Yeah.
It's quiet, because
I did not know it actually. It's like was completely almost backwards on everything. That I didn't know it started with the Bitcoin. I thought it was some other story or whatever. That's interesting.
No,
okay.
I mean, I had never heard of the America 250 thing before. So then I Googled it, and America 250, it was created under Obama. It is a commission, a caucus, and a nonprofit. And it is to celebrate America's 250th birthday. And this is something that Trump has been obsessed with for like 2 years. He's talked about how he's going to have this big party, but the things are already put in place for it. And so I thought to myself, why the hell are they even at the Bitcoin conference? And what do they want with Chris LaCivita? So I emailed America 250 that day. This is the same day that the Bitcoin conference puts out this announcement. And it's the only thing you can find at this point in time that links LaCivita to America 250. And I emailed America 250 and I said, hi, I'm a freelancer working on a story about the Bitcoin conference. And I thought that Chris LaCivita is going to be speaking on your behalf. I just wanted to know how long he's been with you guys.
Yep.
They opened that email 70 times. Okay. And then after several days, they said, and who are you working for? And I was like, well, fuck you. Can I say fuck? I just said fuck.
You're
You
fine.
should do
You're
that.
fine. You're fine.
Um,
Substack, I think, allows it. They allow Nazis. They
well, I don't
they'll
know.
allow
Maybe
fuck.
Zach's got policies.
Yeah, no.
And so I was like, well, fuck you guys. So I was like, okay, here's a link to my portfolio. I'm also now interested in your most recent 990 because it's not up on your website. And they did not respond to me. So I went to their headquarters twice. Okay.
Physically, right? Physically.
Physically went to their
this is
headquarters.
something, I think something in 2025, unfortunately, as a photographer, I always have to remind people, yeah, no, I was physically there. I didn't watch on a live stream. That like this is one of the reasons we're friends as in real life, but also as journalists, is that you physically go places.
Well, and actually, now that you say this, you remind me, you helped me. So the first, I went to their headquarters in Old Town Alexandria, and it was abandoned. And I was asking people, I was like, have you seen? And then everyone was like, this building's been empty. But it's the website. The website has that address.
Yeah.
And so did their 990, their most recent one that wasn't up, but the one that was up said, this address. Mm-hmm. So then you actually sent me a Bloomberg article I requested because I looked up, I saw their new address, or I called the person who owned the property that their Old Town Alexandria headquarters had been in.
Yeah.
And you sent me a Bloomberg article that I couldn't access because it was paywalled. And it was written by the landlord. And I was trying to feel him out before I called him. I was like, this guy either loves Trump or hates Trump. I don't know. Yeah. I gotta see. And it turns out he didn't like Trump. So I called him and I was like, bro, where the hell's America 250? And he was like, oh, they moved. And they told me where they were. He was so cool. Yeah. And so it was at the Reagan building and I happened to be like 3 blocks from it. So I went there and nobody was there. Nothing was there. Okay. Nobody. Empty. But there were all these t-shirts everywhere. And I went back the next day. Somebody was there. And he was like, I don't know what a 990 is. I don't want to talk to you. He called his boss. He like clearly wanted me to leave. Poor guy. It wasn't his fault. He's like the bottom wrong person. Yeah. But it got back, I think, that I had gone. Because then I did get an email from their press people who sent me this very like milquetoast, like 2-sentence answer about Chris. And it was like, all I did was ask how long he's been affiliated with you guys, and the answer had been since January, since inauguration, obviously. Yeah. And we could have avoided me going to Old Town Alexandria. We could have avoided me going to the Reagan building twice. We could have avoided me calling your landlord. Yeah. If you would have just said since January. I mean, that was it. That's all I was asking for. So then I was like, well, I'm going to the fucking Bitcoin conference because this shit is crazy as hell. Like this is too sketchy.
This is in Las Vegas too. So,
yes. Yeah. So I bought a flight to Las Vegas and applied for press credentials to Bitcoin conference, and they give them to me. I don't know why. So yeah. So that's how I got into this. This is how all of my stories start. It's either some Nazi or Republican tells me this guy's a Nazi, or I'm internet stalking people and I stumble into things.
I do love the fact that like I'm actually curious because I don't use the email tracker, which I really should, I think. Especially now that I've been kind of banned from everything as well. I'm not getting into anything at all. I was actually kind of surprised I didn't even get a response from the next person we'll talk about, which is Hannah and Megan. That I didn't even get like a go fuck yourself kind of response from the military parade press request, because like under my wire service and everything like that, usually I at least get a no, because they're still not, because I'm still kind of generic when it comes to that. But like I know Hannah Stone, like we actually have really good rapport when we're at CPAC. And like I helped her out with a bunch of things. But anyway, like I'm getting ahead of myself. Who are Megan Powers and Hannah Stone? Who are these two like Trump world figures that are involved in this?
Well, so I pitched this story to several places because I was like, obviously there's something going on here. I don't know what it is, but it's super sketchy as hell. This is supposed to be a non-partisan commission. Why the hell is Chris LaCivita, who is like an asshole, by the way? Yeah. I mean, he is like a huge asshole. He's like very prominent on Twitter, like always like boomer posting at liberals. Like he's not the example of non-partisanship, right? Yeah.
Well, and this is all a nonprofit, right? I mean, is it nonprofit or is it
it's a congressional commission and a nonprofit, and they're both mandated by law to be nonpartisan, or bipartisan, nonpartisan. And not just in the way that like a typical nonprofit has to be nonpartisan, but like this is actually like in addition, it's connected to this other stuff, and so nobody wanted it, and then all of a sudden there's going to be a military parade. And guess who's throwing it? America 250, because I am Cassandra. I know everything before it happens. And who is on the permit for this parade? Well, all these outlets come up with this story and they're like, look, there's this parade and it's got Megan Powers on it. And I'm like, I know that fucking name. I know that name.
Yeah.
Of course I knew it. She was on the permit for January 6th. Nobody put that together. Don't understand. I literally don't know what's happening. It's like we've all memory hole January 6th.
Yeah.
So
I mean, we have.
So, we have.
In so many ways. So
at the time, she had been contracting for a company called Advanced Strategies. So then you again helped me out because you sent me your contact information that you would apply or whatever. You were on the press loop for America 250, who won't email me anything. I think I'm just at a blacklist for everything for them. And lo and behold, there's Hannah Stone, who was also on the permit for January 6th.
Yeah.
And she's got an Event Strategies Incorporated email address in the email you sent me. And that is who planned January 6th, was Event Strategies.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, holy fuck, this is even bigger now. And all of a sudden people wanted the story. And so, yeah, that's who it was. So basically what happened is that you had America 250 was this nonprofit, or is this nonprofit, that is receiving like over $10 million from our tax dollars, because it does get the, what is it called? Not allotment, but it's getting federal money from the commission. The commission gets federal money and then gives it to the nonprofit. It's basically how it works. And they are using that to, instead of working with groups like the group they were with before that was punting events was like an Obama, people had set it up, but they also had clients like that were not political.
Yeah.
Event Strategies is like pretty solidly known for January 6th. And they've been around for like 20, 25 years before, but other stuff they did, other things Event Strategies did, when Paul Manafort and Manafort Davis Partners was in Ukraine doing all that shit back in 2004. Do you know who his Event Strategies was working with them? So they were contracting with Manafort. And so like this is like a hyper partisan. It's not just that they are like staffers that formed an event group. They are hyper partisan. And so that is kind of what America 250 has joined. They had all these programs. They had like a heritage. They had everybody coming together. So it's something for everyone. You know. Yeah,
it seems to be. I mean, like most things in the Trump world. I mean, I guess that one of the problems is like it's not surprising. Like it's surprising, and it's surprising that like they do it this obviously, and this and the fact that like again that. This is not anytime as a freelancer that I come up find a story or find something and I'm like, am I going insane? How hasn't Politico? How hasn't all of these Axios? They have such a wrap around Washington D.C. and politics. How the fuck haven't they like made these two connections? Like literally just Googled these two names together or something like that. And so it's because I mean we also have in this story campaign nucleus. Which this guy that won't go away, Brad Parscale, as well. Explain like how they're involved as well.
Yeah, I mean, this is like, so what's so crazy about this is that the whole time I had this story, I had originally pitched it to Politico actually, and they were like, we're not sitting to the Bitcoin conference, but pitch us afterwards. And I did, and they were like not interested, even after the parade was announced. But Mother Jones had, my friend Mother Jones, he knew everything. Because I like, people listening have to understand, I've not shut the fuck up about America 250 since April 16th. It has been nonstop America 250 for me. That is all I talk about. And so he knew everything. So when his boss asked him to write about the parade, he's like, I literally can't. He's like, I know so much about it, but it's all Amanda. And they were like, great, have her write it with you. Oh. So he had been trying to get me to pitch it to them for like weeks. And then, you know, they took it. But the whole time I was so concerned. I was like, someone is going to scoop all of this, maybe. And when I started calling people, I mean, people were telling me, I called so many people involved with America 250 who had been let go. And they were all like, you're the first person to call, which is bonkers. Yeah. And they actually were like, people were starting to let me know. They were like, oh, another journalist called me. You know, I had multiple people say that. But that was like June. That was the beginning of June. It was 2 weeks out from the parade. And like, I've been talking to you for a month. You know, I'm not gonna. But what happened was that once I had a home for it, I like even discovered even more insane stuff. So I applied to get press credentials for the parade. I never got it, but I also signed up for a ticket. And when I got the ticket, I was like, this looks just like the fucking format for when you sign up for a Trump rally. Yeah. And then there it is, sponsored or Campaign Nucleus, brought to you by Campaign Nucleus, which is Brad's company. Yeah. And again, no one fucking noticed this somehow. I just mind blowing,
Yeah.
and
I mean, like that alone is not, maybe not like, maybe it's like a quick like Politico blurb, kind of thing, or like a tweet. But yeah, no
nothing,
one, yeah.
nothing, nothing, not a tweet. Eventually, a day before we published, some anonymous account with like 100 followers tagged Brad and was
Yeah.
like, "Why are you involved with this?" And that was it.
Yeah.
That was it.
Yeah.
And I'm like, okay, so this is crazy. And well, we'll get to the second. So basically, like that is how I figured this out. Was like I signed up for it and I went through the process, and I was like, oh, it's not just that they're using the same format; it's that Brad is using it. And so when you go to Campaign Nucleus's website, it's like, welcome, fellow conservatives. This is where you sign up to do conservative only shit. Fuck the libs. It
Yeah.
doesn't say fuck the libs, but
And
it might as
I
well.
mean, it would be like if Obama was using, or if Biden was using Act Blue. Like that's the
Yeah.
level of, and the right would, I think, correctly go
Yes.
batshit crazy, because I mean, Act Blue has like evolved a little bit. They've started taking like just general donations now, but it's still like I used to run a nonprofit, journalism nonprofit outfit, and like we looked into using Act Blue because they were a good payment processor for kind of everything, and we were like, well, we can't do it. And
Yeah.
not only does it say it in the name, Act Blue, but it's not something, it's so associated with Democrats that our nonprofit, overlords would
Yeah.
scream at us. And they did,
I mean,
actually. So,
and Campaign Nucleus is explicitly on their website for conservatives.
yeah.
It clearly says that. And it is, I mean, it's wild. And so that was like a last minute add-on because that was Sunday. The article came out on a Friday. I figured that out Sunday at like 5 p.m. I was like, what the fuck? So, I mean, we were adding stuff to the very last minute. And then Tuesday of that week, my birthday, what did I spend my birthday doing? Watching Donald Trump. Because he gave a little speech before Bragg, and it was completely insane. He was there on behalf of America 250, and he's like, Los Angeles is a shithole. Hellhole. I'm sorry, it's a hellhole.
He's learned
Tim Walz.
you can't call things shitholes. You can call it hellholes, though. So yeah.
Hellholes. Tim Walz is the worst. All this stuff. So then I'm like emailing Tuesday on my birthday, sitting there emailing. Hi, I see you're the executive vice president for marketing for Coca-Cola and a sponsor of America 250. I just wanted to know the story coming out from Mother Jones. Do you agree that Los Angeles is a hellhole?
Yeah.
And that Tim Walz is the worst? Nobody answered me, by the way. No one got back to me. I emailed everybody. And also more sponsors popped up as we got closer. Palantir, self-explanatory.
Yeah. Peter Thiel,
UFC.
large right-wing funder, runs it. Yeah.
Yes, also had just received a $795 or 98 million, $800 million basically, contract with the federal government right before the sponsorship was announced. Isn't that crazy? Another sponsor was Form Energy, which is an Anheuser-Busch production that is co-owned by Dana White of the UFC. Okay, and then another sponsor was the UFC. But the UFC then later told the New York Times, not me, by the way, because nobody answered me. Nobody answers Amanda. Yeah. Everybody hates Amanda. Did tell the New York Times we were not actually sponsors, but they're still on the fucking website. So I don't believe you. Fuck you. So Donald Trump just lost it. It was a hyper-partisan event. Military Times reported, and we said it's the article, that people were selling MAGA gear, at the event, which is like bad because you're not supposed to do that at a military base anyway. But then also on top of it, it's like mandated by law. Not partisan event.
Yeah,
very cool.
I would love to see the nonprofit, or the nonprofit like guy, because like every nonprofit person I ever worked with, you can't say this, you can't even like, don't even like use the words Obama, trying to do that to Donald Trump and being like, God, come on, sir, you can't.
Yeah, they fired everybody. So when Trump got rid of the National Archivist and the Library of Congress, these people were like ex officio on like not the board, but like within the commission. And so when he replaced them with his own sycophants, so like Rubio has like 2 positions that are on there. There's nobody to say no. And that includes like, the chief legal officer and everybody of America 250 itself. So there's America 250, the commission, or A250, and then there's America250.org, which is the 501c3. And so that board is now run by a Fox News guy. He was a producer for Fox News. He was 24 when we started the article, but he had a birthday. So by the time we published, we had a fact check, 25. Okay. 25, much wiser, can rent a car now. Very cool.
Well, then that's fine.
It's fine. It's just tens of millions of dollars of like tax dollars, plus all of this like money it's pumping in to plan America's birthday.
Yeah.
They got rid of, there was one I put in the article, her name is Sarah. She's like a head of the Heritage, not Heritage Foundation, I'm sorry, Heritage Foundation, head of the Heritage area for Niagara Falls. And she's like on the board for like national heritage areas. And part of her job was to be like, okay, well, we've got all of these, coal miners, who are part of like the American infrastructure. And we've got, these farmers and these people who have or have had in the past this huge impact, and particularly in rural America. And most heritage areas are in rural America.
Mm-hmm.
They got rid of her. And instead of heritage areas, fuck the farmers. Listen, we're going to the Bitcoin conference and Bone Thugs and Harmony is going to play. And that's what our stuff is being used for now. So it's a huge scandal, I think.
Because it's interesting, because we also have Monica Crowley, Fox News pundit, is also in it, right? Or at least sorry, she's not involved.
So Monica Crowley, so there's also what Trump did when he was doing these executive orders very early on, is he did one that's called Task Force 250.
Yes.
So now there's a task force that is through executive order, and we don't even really know who's on it. Like with the ones that are like named as positions, we know, but there's 20 slots that could be appointed by the president. We have no idea who's on it. Well, I guess we know Monica Crowley is one of them, and there's a Brittany somebody that I saw in some marketing material, or some internal material, I guess, that she is also on it. But basically, it looks like this has been done so they've already taken over and made it as partisan as possible. But the Task Force 250 has no mandate to be nonpartisan. So they are able to use that task force to force the hand of the nonprofit. So it's like, oh, the nonprofit can't do this. Well, Task Force 250 can.
Yeah. It's funny because one of the first like big individual investigations I did by myself was this story about the Koch brothers funding I always forget Focus on the Family. I think it was Focus on the Family up in Alaska. And the point person up there literally said, he used the words in a at this, I think it was a Indian restaurant. They were doing a fundraiser, and he goes, well, no, we have a nonprofit and we have a political end, and all you have to do in the boardroom is just turn the lights on and off. And that was the quote, like, it was like a gift. I remember listening to that, but it's like, but they are not even, it's sad how, at least even back then, at least back in it was 2010, like they had to at least turn the lights on and off. And now they're just funneling money directly into, because I think it's stunning. Because we had the inaugural that they raised a ridiculous sum of money for, and then it didn't happen. Which it's that's like one of those stories where I'm like, where did all that fucking money go?
Well, to the library. Everything's going to the library. Don't worry about it. There's going to be a library.
Yeah.
The plane is going to the library. The lawsuit's going to the library.
Can't imagine it's not going to be built in Mar-a-Lago's, on a golf course. Maybe they'll have to move. Or wait, where's his ex-wife buried? I forget which. Is that up in New Jersey? I think
it's New Jersey.
Yeah, New Jersey. Oh God, they might have to move her grave.
As long as the time is up for the tax break, it's fine.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's after we went around, because we went around this whole thing. It's can you talk to me, because I think one of your tweets, and as a complete jealous that I couldn't swing going to the Bitcoin conference, how much a seeded just money pouring in from the kind of the tech world, and not just the Bitcoin world, but which has its own seedy level of money. But this is scribble. The video that you posted, and I'll post this in the links. Upon arrival, disembodied hands held out glasses for champagne for guests. The bar staff's bodies hidden behind a wall covered in Tron branding. What was that experience like? Because this is one thing that I think Mother Jones lets you do a little bit, but you don't really get an opportunity, I think, enough to really talk about the insanity of physically being there. As sometimes as a Mother Jones journalist or as a political journalist, what was that Bitcoin conference like, trying to get people to talk to you?
I didn't try to get anybody to talk to me. I didn't give it. I don't give a shit what anybody has to say. So I went. So the whole first day of the Bitcoin conference was sponsored. Well, sponsorship is possibly a legal term, so I don't know if I can use it.
Yep.
It was co-hosted by America 250.
Mm-hmm.
And so the first day was not, if you bought a ticket, a $500 ticket to the Bitcoin conference, you could not go the first day, only the second and third day. The first day was for whales who have a lot of Bitcoin or crypto. And it's like, it was very like, these are all of the politicians that are coming through. And it made me like physically ill. As someone who's been in Bitcoin for a long, long time, it was just like, what the fuck is it? Like, this is not like, I was trying to buy drugs, man. And like, why do we have the president's son saying weird shit on the stage now?
Well, I mean,
So it's like very like emotionally scarring. And in fact, I was supposed to write about it for an outlet that I have not turned in the article, even though it's like 2 months out. So I don't know if they're going to take it at this point, but it was a very traumatizing experience.
Yeah.
The conference itself, Chris Lasavita spoke with the chair of America 250. Her name is Rosie Rios. And she was the treasurer under Obama. She's not the secretary. She's not running the treasury. She just signed the fucking money. That's all she did because of shit. And she's like holding on for dear life to keep her job here, which is also, it's not paid. It's an unpaid position that she has, but it comes with a great deal of prestige. She probably makes a lot of money in speeches. She's always giving speeches.
Yeah.
So the whole day was just like the most insane stuff. Like David Sachs and the Winklevoss twins were like competing on stage to see who could jerk Trump off the most, like it was just a humiliation ritual, I think. And then the party, there was a VIP party, it was invite only.
Mm-hmm.
So I filled out the Luma thing and they were like, you're in. Actually, I had Jacob Silverman fill it out first because I was like, I don't want to draw attention. And then like I get rejected and other people do. I was like, you fill it out. I don't want to go alone.
Yeah.
So he filled it out and he got accepted right away. And I was like, well, fuck. Like he's not recognizable like for the same reasons as me, right? So I was like, there's still like a chance, but like the Bitcoin people should hate him because he wrote a book about Bitcoin sucking, And so like, and then the Trump people, like Chris Lasavita hates me. But like, if he got in, maybe I'll get in. And I did. They just let everybody in. It was crazy. So it was exclusive unless you filled out the Luma application.
Yeah. Oh.
So we get there. And I ended up getting drunk because they were just handing out the champagne. And I just kept going back to the champagne because I was like, I don't want to be here. This is awful. There was all this food. It was really good too. They had sushi, really good sushi. They had like, all these spreads that you could go through. I'm like seeing like young Republicans that I know and I'm like trying to hide, like hiding behind other journalists. Like you just walk in front of me and I'll be back here. But everybody was drunk, so I think they were distracted anyway. We commandeered a cabana, okay? And there was like a bottle of champagne in the cabana that we did not open, but we should have. I got a hat. It said America 250 on it. It was in the cabana. I was like, this is mine. I'm taking it home. And it was not anybody's cabana. I think it was just set up like for whoever wanted to walk into it, which is just like, you're setting up VIP style stations for every person because every person's a VIP. So we're talking like a lot of money. Yeah. Tron, who branded all over that, disembodied hand, is Justin Sun's company. And Justin Sun, of course, was afraid to step foot in America because of the SEC investigation into him for being allegedly a huge fucking fraudster, which allegedly he was. And then all of a sudden he became one of the biggest holders or the biggest holder of Trump coin. And that SEC investigation went away. Never mind that a bunch of people lost a bunch of money because of this guy, right?
Yeah.
So, you had who knows what he was pumping into it. You had Bone Thugs and Harmony, not a cover, real Bone Thugs, okay? Yeah. Plain. And then you had girls in cow onesies.
I think that was one of the most sad, like just I think I saw your video and I'm like, the video of it should have been, they should have blurred their faces out of like, out of respect. It's like, I just always feel bad. Like there's one of those people is going to get a little bit older and become, something respectable. Not that, dancing, well, right, whatever.
I've actually been surprised because like, so my old life is like events. Both working them and staffing them. So I was like, oh, at this conference, I'm definitely going to see people like either used to work for me or that I used to work with. And I like was like trying to like recognize any of the girls. I didn't recognize any of them at the conference or at that party. But I've been like really optimistic that I would see someone that I knew. So I could be like, hey, how much are they paying you? And like actually get an answer.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wanted to know. But they were there because Steak and Shake was also.
Oh, that I forgot. Like the multi-level like grift of that is all going on. The beef tal the tallow
Yeah.
forward restaurant that basically said a big fuck you. I mean, like Chick-fil-A is usually pretty. Chick-fil-A never talks about the fact that they're a right-wing bigoted chicken company, but like the fact that like Steak and Shake's like, you know what, we ain't got fucking anything else. Like we're going under. I
Yeah.
assume they are. I mean, I've seen more and more of those
Well,
restaurants close, but
the guy who owns it is
yeah,
crazy. He
yeah.
also owns Maxim, and they are like, remember they endorsed Trump? That's because his, and then they
Yeah.
have like a spread of like Anna Paulina Luna, who is a lunatic, and they're like, oh,
I actually didn't know
you,
that Maxim was still around. I remember in the
well,
late 90s, but I mean, I'm sure it still
it's this
persists.
different thing now.
Like a
It's like
bad, yeah.
sexy Trump thing now,
Oh
you know.
God, it's
Yeah.
like, long COVID. It just sticks around.
Yeah. Maybe we'll
Um,
have a Laura Loomer bikini photos next.
please, please.
She can eat the dog food, but like sexily
I would
with a
say that,
fork because eating with your hands is very un-American. So she'll have to use a fork this time. She did
yeah,
not last
yeah,
time.
yeah. The first time I ever saw Laura Loomer, she was introduced by Milo Yiannopoulos, and Milo came up in a Laura Loomer wig, and was pretending he had like a t-shirt on, like loom get loomed or whatever the hell her
Yeah,
thing is, and he was like
yeah.
cosplaying her, mocking the fuck out of her, like not in a like, oh, this is jovial, in a real mean way. And then she came on and they shared a mic. So the only photos I have of of like both of them or either one of them individually are in that moment.
That's
that, that
amazing. I
that was
love
that
that.
was at a Proud Boys free speech rally that happened after Donald Trump's July 4th thing.
I was there.
Yeah, that was a fucking nightmare.
I
But
was also there.
yeah, we've kind of gone about this story in such a backwards and roundabout way. Is there anything that you want people to take away from this? I guess,
Yeah, I mean, so the thing is that like dark money is everywhere, like we're saying, right? Like
mhm,
usually with C3 and a C4, and you do your political stuff through the C4, and it's all bullshit. But and I think if this was any other like situation, this story wouldn't be so important. But like what this is that this is supposed to be for like people. This is supposed to be for the people. And they have gotten rid of the guy who was doing all the work with the Native American, like every tribe, every federally recognized tribe. He was working with them, trying to get them on board. This wasn't just like a celebration party. It was also like a cultural learning experience.
yeah,
Like these are like everybody's bringing something to the table. That's why you had these heritage areas working with people. You had like all this stuff. And it's like the spirit of what is being done is it's a huge like fuck you to people. It's a huge fuck you to those coal miners
yeah,
and their families, and it's a huge fuck you to those farmers and all these people, to the Native Americans, to everybody who no longer has representation in this. It's not just that it's your tax dollars or that these private companies are funneling money into this. It's that it was explicitly created as a thing of goodwill for the American people, and they are stripping you of that. And there's like a lot more going on with this. It's not over. This is like
yeah.
tonight as we speak, July 3rd. He is speaking at this at one of their events at this another kickoff
I was
event. They
just
keep
about,
having because Memorial Day was supposed to be the kickoff. The Bitcoin
yeah,
conference was Memorial, like it was supposed to be, and then it's just. But I can tell you, like we are not done working on this. My co-writer and I, like I think we're working on like a print piece for this, so that'll be several months out, that is more in depth. And even after that, I think it's not done because they are explicitly using this 250 thing to alter the way we have recorded history.
mm,
They are looking to change the story. And I do not mean for a celebration. They are permanently looking to rewrite and write out people and things and moments that they don't want. This is all like it sounds like a crazy conspiracy. And you have to remember that Trump talked about this over and over on the campaign trail. He talked about America 250 and this party and what he wanted for it. And what he wants is to create a legacy of his
mm,
through this event. And he wants to do it in a way that changes what is put in history books for the rest of this country's existence.
Yeah.
And about stuff that has happened 100 years ago, 150 years ago. This is, I think, a very explicit right-wing takeover of many facets of American life that is being done under the guise of this bipartisan or nonpartisan organization that really no one's paying attention to. Again, the archivist was fired in February. The librarian was fired, what, April or May?
Yeah.
I started calling people April 20th. Okay. And every person I talked to told me I was the first person to ever contact them.
Yeah, that's wild.
And like, it is a great vehicle to run a fascist expansion program under, because it's so unknown, you know? And so, yeah, I think there's also like the fact that like, if you don't have a lot of money to give Trump cash, if you're not particularly solvent, what if you could do an in-kind contribution? For instance, Form Energy was handing out energy drinks at the parade. I actually have a little write-up about that coming to my Substack, but probably not before tomorrow. Maybe I'll put it out tomorrow. Maybe I'll try to time it with this. But Form Energy was handing out these energy drinks, and maybe they didn't give cash. Maybe they just did an in-kind donation, but you know, that's an associate. Isn't that currying favor with the president? Because he's explicitly said this is one of the biggest deals to him. And so if you can do some kind of in-kind contribution without being solvent, maybe that helps you get something. Maybe it's a coincidence that Palantir got an $800 million contract just days before they became a sponsor, but maybe it's not. And we won't know because it's completely opaque, and nobody at America 250 will talk, and nobody at Palantir will talk, of course. But yeah, I think this is people are not realizing how strongly this organization is going to be used to implement fascism. I think.
I mean, this is we got another year of this too. I mean, I think that's, you know, like, and so because this is all lead up to 2026. And so it's his campaign. I mean, basically this is his excuse to travel the country and give campaign rallies that he doesn't have to pay for, which is beyond like, I mean, I always feel that he never, obviously, historically, he has never really paid for his campaign rallies. You know, there's multiple towns across this country that he owes $100,000 here and there,
including the one he lives in here.
Well, yeah, fair. But and so yeah, that's wow. Well, happy July 4th. I won't see you. Patriotic. Where can people find your work and support you?
I am on all social media platforms as No Turtle Soup 17, except for on YouTube, or I'm something else I forget because I got banned from YouTube for posting too much Mike Flynn stuff. And then I have a Substack at turtlediaries.net. And yeah, that's where I am.
And I'll link everything in the show notes, of course. Well, thank you so much.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
Thank you so much for listening to this VisuNews podcast. Like everything on VisuNews, it will always be free, but I'm begging you guys, please subscribe at a paid level to keep this stuff going. Right now, through the end of the month, I am going to be giving a free DVD signed by me to anyone who signs up at a founding level member.